Welcome to Music Row, a backstage pass to your favorite country artists. Here's your host, Leake.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Thanks for the listens, the shares, the likes, the loves, the comments. Keep the comments coming. Who would you like to see on the program? Thanks for sharing with pals and bringing more people into the community. If you haven't already done so, click subscribe or like so that you get all the new episodes when they are released, automatically sent to your feed. And while you're doing that, think of doing a follow at the Leake, sharing a lot of content from these conversations with these artists that I think you'll be intrigued to see. Okay, today's program, we sit down with Meghan Patrick, who is at a real breaking point in her career. I mean, a breaking point in a very positive way. She's new faces, new country, one to watch. All of these things are lining up for a great year for Meghan Patrick as audiences are reacting to her sounds worldwide. In fact, tour dates all over North America have been going on for the last month, will be continuing to go on over the next few weeks with more stuff to be announced in the very near future. Meghan, I've known for a while. She's passionate. She's got some thoughts. And we get into all of that, including hunting from her kitchen. Meghan Patrick is on this episode of Music Row.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
Meghan, you're all in camouflage today. What are you hiding from?
The world.
When was the last time you were in a tree stand? Do you still do much of that?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, last year was probably the busiest year of my life, just touring wise. So probably the least amount of time I had to go hunting. But yeah, I still get out when I can. I mean, we've got property out here now, so I can walk out my back door and be in a tree stand in like 10 minutes. So
I'm glad to hear you say walk out the back door as opposed to just stick the rifle through the kitchen window.
No, I don't. I could, but
Well, that was 12 years ago, Meghan Patrick, not today's Meghan Patrick.
I would like to say I have never shot a deer from inside of a house before, only a tree stand. But no, I mean, for me, it is, I would argue it is almost more about the experience of being out there than it is about actually harvesting the animal. So I'm not looking for faster, easier ways to do it. I actually enjoy being out there. So
I was talking with somebody about something a little bit similar. It's not as hunting related, but it's about escaping everything else. Yeah. Our comparison was I love cutting the grass or I love washing the car because during that time, no one will bother you.
True.
Everyone's afraid of the hose.
I also love cutting the grass.
Yeah, it's just there's an element where you could give yourself a mani-pedi, and then there's the element of you getting a little bit of hay fever from the I don't know. No one bothers you, and it's cool.
I love cutting the grass. It was actually a whole thing between Mitchell and I. Well, because when I was younger, I would ask my dad, I'm like, why do you keep paying like the neighborhood kid to come cut our grass? Like, I'll do it. And he would never let me cut the grass. And I think a big part of it was because a friend of his lost like several fingers mowing the grass. Granted, it was, whatever he did to do that was probably not something he should have been doing. I just assumed that led to my dad not wanting me to cut the grass. And I told Mitchell one time when we moved to our new place, he's like, man, I gotta find somebody to get out here and cut the grass because we're gone all the time. And I was like, well, let me do it. I want to do it. He goes, are you serious? I was like, yes. And so he's like, I mean, okay, like if you want to. And then one of his buddies came over. He's like, why's your wife out there cutting the grass, man? What the hell? And he's like, she wants to.
I get it. And that's the thing. You and Mitchell kind of like ships passing in the night for much of the year. So you do need that backup person. But if one of you are at home, get out there. And I'm assuming you have a riding lawnmower.
We don't actually. Most of our property, we only have a very small part of our property that's grass. Most of our property is wood. So a riding mower would be fun, but kind of ridiculous for the amount of grass we have to cut.
I get it. How many pets are roaming the property now?
We're just down to two dogs. We lost one of our dogs a couple of summers ago, so just two dogs, and then the woodland creatures.
Are they good in terms of, because you got the woods right out back, a lot of dogs will hear something in the woods and immediately have to go investigate. But then there's a small
Yeah.
group of dogs who are like, yeah, there's something in the woods over there. Let it be. What are your dogs like?
That is not our dogs. Our dogs definitely want to investigate for sure. I mean, Cash is a hunting breed to begin with, so he is, and he, like, if he takes off, like, he doesn't listen. He's not coming back, so he has to be more controlled. My dog Annie, she'll run off and investigate, but she'll come back. Like, if I'm calling her, she'll listen and she'll stay pretty close to me, so I can kind of walk around in the woods and she'll just do her thing and stay close by. But Cash, it's a lot harder with him because he's big and he's fast, and he will chase something for probably miles, honestly.
Some dogs have some pretty good power in them. And when you approach some people when they're walking their pets, I get a little bit nervous when I see an individual really grab their dog tight. It's like, oh, there's a reason for this.
Yeah,
This dog,
I'm that individual, which
this
is
dog
why we
wants to
live
go.
out in the woods where we don't see other people. Our dogs are not, they're not neighborhood dogs. They're not city dogs. They are feral country dogs that need to have their own space for
Well, of
sure.
course, look who their mom is, Meghan Patrick.
I'm also a feral country dog.
You have been kind of like, you're turning into the senior correspondent for women who are getting into country music. You are providing, you
I
are,
don't know how I feel about senior, but
I mean, experienced.
Yeah.
You're not getting your meds at a discount. You're
I
experienced.
get it.
Um,
Yeah.
you have so much tenure. It blows me away. I think I've known you for almost 10 years now.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
But
at
being
least.
your age, that means you were a child, a golden child, maybe. But now there's a whole group of young artists that are coming up, and they're asking, they want to know how you do it. They want to know
Mhm.
what worked and what didn't. And I was
Yeah.
thinking of this, that it's kind of hard asking Meghan Patrick what worked and what didn't, in a sense, because as soon as you got momentum going, the world closed and
Yeah.
left you on the craziest hiatus ever. One, I will
Yeah.
say, thank God you were in Nashville when the world
Mhm.
closed, as opposed to being
Yes.
in other parts of the world, because all I saw was you and Mitchell kind of on a perpetual dating spree. Like, just,
Yeah.
you were like one gulf to the next. Meanwhile, everyone was like tied down to their homes in other parts of the
Yeah.
world. So
Yeah.
what is your advice, though, when people are like, you're going to be on tour, you have tour dates coming up with Haley Benedict.
Yeah.
Haley is a star. She's
I agree. That's why I
great.
put her on my tour.
a wonderful guitarist and a nice
Yeah.
person too, which
Yes.
helps.
Yeah, I think, well, sorry if you heard that. I'm gonna close the door. My husband's very sick right now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got the crud. So sorry if you heard him hacking in the background there. But to go back to what you were talking about, I've seen Haley a few times at different events. Most recently, I saw her at Jackie Ray's big retirement bash party concert.
Edmonton
And
broadcaster, for people who don't know, Edmonton broadcaster who is
Yes.
just retired and
legend.
probably helped foster a lot of young artists
Oh,
into
for
country
sure.
music.
Me being one of them. And I watched Haley perform, and we got to talk a little bit, and I immediately just loved her. I could tell that she's really passionate about what she does. She loves music. She's definitely a hard worker. She's really put a lot into her craft. Like, she's not just trying to be a great singer and a pretty girl on stage. Like you said, she's a great guitar player. And just from what I've heard, I mean, Jackie Ray was telling me, she's like, I remember when she used to, busk at the farmer's market. And as a fellow former busker, I just have so much love and respect for any new artist who's out there just trying to make it happen by any means necessary. And I also, I want to be able to. I know how hard it is to get on a tour when you're a new artist, especially a female artist. Which is a whole other thing that we don't have to get into. But I want to be able to support the really talented, hardworking female artists coming up behind me. And as far as like giving advice on what works and what doesn't, I mean, I would not recommend trying to be at the peak of your career during a global pandemic, but there's not much you can do about that.
Gonna write that down.
But honestly, the best advice I could give is not some like big magical thing, and probably not what a lot of people want to hear, but it's literally just outlasting a lot of other people. It's just literally never giving up. It's continuing to get back up and dust yourself off after every no, after every, movement that feels like you didn't quite reach the thing you were reaching for, or that feels like a failure, which it's not. I mean, it's just, you know, the whole you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? I mean, you just have to keep taking shots, and you have to also just keep your focus on run your own race, because trying to look around and see the people around you and what's happening in their careers is going to destroy you. And I have caught myself doing that so many times. I still have to check myself on that now, for as many years as I've been doing this. And you just have to remember, like, someone else's trajectory and race is their own, and you can't compare yourself to that. You just got to worry about what you're doing and just keep chasing yourself, your own authenticity. What is it going to be that's going to set you apart? And it's hard because we also are in an industry where everybody's just trying to keep their job and find the path of least resistance, which usually means telling young artists, well, hey, this thing that this other artist is doing is working, so just go do that. And that's like a really safe, easy way to maybe get a little bit of attention or success. And you can do that, and it might work for a second, but it's not going to give you longevity. It's not going to set you apart. It's not going to give you like a household name that's going to make you outlast a lot of your counterparts. So you have to be almost at a delusional level of belief in yourself and what you're trying to do, because a lot of times you're going to be the only one who believes it or gets it.
That is so well said. And I agree with you 100%. You have to stay in your lane. I think the most difficult part for an artist is knowing that they are already in a lane, or knowing that their lane is okay to be in, when there's so many artists that are just chasing, just saying, well, Jelly Roll has a face tattoo. I better get a face tattoo. That's what's going to make my career. You know that's someone out there is thinking that today. And yeah, you're right. They are being told to, and that's such a funny world to be in, because the only reason why Jelly Roll took off is because he was unique. Like, I mean, not the only reason, talented, but was unique. They didn't need another insert artist name here because they already had them. And yeah, I think that's the hardest thing for a young artist, is to know that they already do have a lane, and they can, it's going to work out. It just can't, I think that with an artist, you think that you release something and it should just take off and your work is done, but it's forever from now when your work is done.
The work never ends. Like, there will never be, if you are looking to get involved in this, hoping that there will come a time in your career where you can just kind of like relax and be like, I'm good, I've made it. That moment will never come. I have been doing this. I've been making a living off of my music for almost 15 years now. And never once have I felt relaxed or like, I can just chill now. I've made it.
You're one of the new faces at CRS this year, playing the New Faces show, 15 years in. New faces. That is is a great example of how long it actually takes. And it makes me really worry for some of these artists who do get kind of thrown out there really fast, but they don't have the stage reps behind them. They don't have that just travel rep. Like, the traveling for in a band is probably something that breaks up more bands than anything else.
Oh, 100%. It is. It's extremely challenging. It is not glamorous. It's exhausting. It's gross. It's like it is not what people think it is. And it's like the majority of what we do is that. And the only kind of glamorous, really fun part is like those 30, 45, 60, 75, whatever minutes that you're on stage and you actually feel like a rock star and you're doing the thing that you love. And then maybe after you go to the merch table and you get to like meet the fans and they take pictures with you and they share stories of how much your music means to them. Those moments are amazing. That's when you feel like a rock star. The other, like, 22 hours of the day are anything but. It's lack of sleep, riding around in shitty vans. It's, gross green rooms and dive bars and like delayed flights and losing bags and, you know, frustrating calls with your label. And it's hard. And I think a lot of people that get into it now that kind of that get into it really quickly and sort of skip a lot of those steps because of some viral moment or whatever on TikTok. It's why a lot of them don't last, is because they skip so many of the steps that really kind of weed out, how bad do you actually want this? How much do you actually want this? Because if you only want this one small percentage of what we do, like, you're not going to last, because the rest of it's going to destroy you. And it also, it's really the way that labels operate now. A lot of major labels, they're not in the business of developing artists anymore. They're in the business of making the quickest, easiest money they can, which means finding viral moments, signing them, owning those masters, making their money. And then if you can't catch up to where you are and keep things moving, then you're just going to get dropped or shelved. And a lot of them can't, because they haven't toured, they haven't played shows, they have barely even written any songs yet. So they get out there with this big moment, and then once that moment fizzles out, it's like, now what? And they're like, well, I don't know, I just got here yesterday. And the label's like, all right, next. So it's, and the sad thing is that a lot of those artists could been something really great. They might have some really great talent, they just haven't had time to develop. So it might look like, and I tell a lot of young artists, when you see that overnight kind of thing happen, it might seem great, it might seem glamorous, you might think like, man, I wish it would happen that fast for me. But the reality is that there's a lot of detriment to the artist, and sometimes it kind of ends a career before it even really starts. And I think there's so much value in doing all of the steps, as painful and as frustrating and as exhausting as those steps are. They really build you for the career that you're trying to have, and they build you for the industry you're trying to survive. Because I've survived that industry through a lot, and a pandemic included. And I've outlasted a lot of my counterparts because of that.
You just did a show in Chicago and Indiana, and you lived through that too.
Yeah, sure did.
I know so many bands that have lost gear in Chicago, especially Chicago.
Yeah.
There's a few cities along the way, throughout North America where are notoriously bad, but Chicago, and it's such a grind. And speaking of, the 23 hours of the day where you're dealing with all of this stuff, probably one of the hardest things for a band is getting into Chicago and going, which way do we go now? I don't know how we're going to get this vehicle. Who's going to watch all this stuff?
Yeah.
Those things. Have you ever lost gear on the road? Has someone ever eaten one of your guitars?
I have never, we've never had like our trailer robbed or anything. I mean, like, knock on wood, thank God. I had someone tried to steal my guitar once. We were loading out at the hotel, and we just, honestly, we weren't paying as close attention as we probably should have been, and someone tried to swipe my guitar, but I have an air tag in it. And so I ended up finding it and getting it back.
Well,
but
so they actually got it. It wasn't like, hey, get your hands off that. It was, you turned around and your guitar was gone.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy. But
what was that altercation like? What was that conversation like? Oh, did you say things like, excuse me, sir?
It was very strange, because I think they must have heard like the thing beeping, I guess, because I was like trying to track it as soon as I realized. And so they actually brought it back, and they said, oh, it fell out of I saw it, like it fell out of the trailer or something, and I thought it had been left behind. Like, they made up some weird excuse and tried to act like they were, trying to help out. And I was kind of like, yeah, whatever, man. Just give me my guitar.
You know what? And that's a great thing to do too. Is just to walk away from it because
Mhm.
this person's a lunatic and it's not going to
Yeah.
change your day for the better if you
No.
scold them over it.
Now, yeah, like 22-year-old me would have tried to fight him probably, but I just was like, just give me
Would
my
have tried.
guitar
You
so
would
I
have
can,
definitely.
get on with my day.
Don't say tried.
But yeah,
You would have definitely. There would have been a
yeah,
crowbar. There would have been a front end of a Chevy. All for that. Dates coming up. In fact, we should mention the tour dates that are coming up with Haley Benedict, as we did kind of loosely talk about off the top. On tour brought to you by the Pecan Agency, connecting fans with bands worldwide. You've got dates coming up in Vegas. We mentioned the New Faces show, which is coming up at the end of the month, CRS
yep.
in Nashville. Playing in California, running up the coast to Vancouver, and the Canadian tour starts with Haley Benedict in just a few weeks' time. You've been kind of like, Nashville does this to a lot of artists, but it's stop and start. Like
Mhm.
you go and you play for a couple weeks and then it stops, or you might have like 3 shows and then it stops and that.
Yeah.
Do you have like just a regular rehearsal pattern with the band just to keep the chops up? Or do you say, you know what, we'll just rehearse when we get to the venue because we're kind of been running hot for the last couple months as it is?
I mean, we usually like before we kicked off the US leg of the headlining tour, we did like 3 days of rehearsals straight, like just kind of getting everything dialed in because like a headlining set, we're playing 75 to 80 minutes each night. So we've got it down to an art now. So yeah, we still play so many little like one-offs here and there outside of my own tour as well that like once we kind of get in that initial like chunk of rehearsal, we're good. We'll probably get in and do another rehearsal before we kick off the Canadian leg, just because the set will be a little bit different. There's a few older, Canadian hits, so to speak, that I know the Canadians still want to hear that I don't necessarily play as much in the US, just because a lot of the US fans, they're only listening to more of my new stuff, right? So we kind of stick to that.
And you also
So
can track the data because you can see numbers where, hey,
yeah.
the US is primarily into these 15 songs compared to other
Yeah.
other
Well, they
territories.
just didn't know who I was until, until I had a single at US radio. So a lot of them, they're only listening to, I mean, there's a few of diehard fans that like, once they become a fan, I mean, they'll go back through your whole discography. Like I was playing a show in the US a little while ago and somebody requested a deep cut from like 4 albums ago. I'm like, how do you even know that song?
And by the way,
I
the
don't even
band
know
doesn't
how
know
to
that
play that
song.
song.
We don't know the
Yeah,
song.
my band, these guys have never even played that song. But yeah, I do switch it up a little bit when I go back to Canada because I know there's some of the older songs that those fans want to hear, and I'm just trying to make everybody happy. So
It's a tough business when you've got so many great songs now as a catalog to pull from, and you got to try and piece them all in to your
yeah.
set, and they're not all going to make it.
No, they're not. And it's hard to know what everybody wants. I mean, there's a few that, just by sheer number, obviously leaning heavily towards ones that were singles and stuff. But there's a couple deep tracks that are like huge fan favorites that weren't necessarily big hits for me at radio, but they're hits with amongst the fans. Although I do still get requests for Bow Chicka Wow Wow, and I've just kind of been like, listen, guys, it's just not gonna happen.
That is something that I don't think bands, artists know or think about as their career goes on. These songs are going to be out there forever.
Forever. Yeah, I mean,
And
that was my first ever single, and I was kind of like pushed into it. And I mean, I don't regret it because it did like kick off my career. We came out of the gates guns blazing. I just don't want to play it anymore.
yeah.
It's just so far removed from like what I'm doing now. That it just doesn't really make sense to me in the set. But I'm like, hey, if you love it that much, you can stream it for the rest of your life if you want.
Enjoy. Feel free to tag me on social. By
Yeah.
the way, Meghan Patrick music on all socials. One of maybe 1% of artists out there who has every social media page with the exact same name. So good on you. I'm guessing though, the only reason why you're able to get it is because we can spell
Because of how
Megan.
old I am.
No, we can spell Megan about 19 different times.
Yeah.
It's the
It's
most
true.
probably misspelled name out of
Oh yeah,
all
people.
the
My
Western world
name is
names.
yeah, my name is constantly misspelled. Everybody always forgets the H. So
One of the beautiful things about having a name with an H, it's sometimes silent, especially if you're in Quebec. Hey, congratulations. This is also your third Juno nomination, Album of the Year. That's got to feel
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a huge honor, and especially for this record. This record is my favorite thing I've ever made. It's so special to me, and it represents a huge turning point for me, not only like in my personal life, because it is such a deeply personal record. It's very autobiographical. I dug into some pretty deep, heavy personal stuff in that record. But I think to me, it also kind of represented like this fresh start, clean slate moment for me in my career. I was getting out of an old record deal, moving into this new era of really like, I think for the first time, 100% making the record that I wanted to make. I did not make any compromises with this record. I have respect for my team, and I listen to them, and I want to hear their opinions. But at the end of the day, if I felt strongly about something, then I was going to follow that instinct. And I did with this record. And so, I'm proud of it for so many reasons. And it's also, I mean, it's catapulted my career more than anything else I've ever made. And it feels good to be known and to have so much success from something that you're like deeply proud of and that you think is really truly like representative of who I am as an artist.
Let me ask you this. Getting into a new record deal. Are you someone I recommend to artists get a short deal? Get
Oh
a
yeah.
one album deal. What are you like?
Yeah.
Are you saying go for two, go for three? Like what do you
Yeah, it depends. It depends on how many cards you're holding. It depends on what kind of leverage you have. Um if you're really new and up and coming and you don't have a lot of numbers or streaming socials whatever, it's going to be hard to negotiate something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're also we're at a place in the industry where the industry has changed so much. The way music is consumed has changed so much, and the standard record deals that we used to sign, they just are not, they're not good anymore.
Well, look at it this way. If say you're doing a 2-year deal or sorry, a 2-album deal, that
Mhm,
could potentially be in a regular cycle of the way things work in recording and
mhm.
touring and supporting and
Yeah.
promoting. That could be 6 years.
Right. Well, that's the thing too. You have to remember that it's like in that process, like you are waiting on the label to approve budgets for you to even get into the studio and make that record. And then you're also waiting on them to, agree to a timeline to release it and like do all that. So you don't have a lot of control. And that's why honestly, I tell a lot of young artists, I'm like, especially if you're getting momentum and you're doing well on your own as an indie artist, do not sign a deal. Like at this point, the only reason to sign a record deal is if they are promising you and like putting in writing that they're going to take you to radio and give you a big radio campaign. Because outside of that, like you are giving your masters, you're giving your percentage, you're giving away a lot. And for what in return? Because now with social media and everything, like you have a lot of that stuff at your fingertips. If you're willing to do the work and grind and hustle for it, you can do a lot of that on your own and keep everything that you make and own everything that you create. So you have to like just signing a record deal. Like, yeah, it feels great. It looks, there's a big press release and it's cool to say like, oh, I'm signed to so and so, and you feel like it legitimizes you. But from an actual business standpoint and in terms of like making money and ownership of what you create, most of the time it doesn't make sense financially, and it can lock you into something that is going to lead you down a different path that you want to go on. And so especially if you are a new young artist and you're not even sure of what you want to do or what kind of career you want or what matters to you, what's important to you, like you have to be able to advocate for yourself when you get into one of these deals. And if you're not ready to do that, then you are going to be at the mercy of the whim of the label and whatever they want to do, which is going to serve them first
They're the
because it's a
bank.
business.
The bank wants to get paid.
Yeah.
And I say, when we talk about if it was going to be 6 years for 2 albums, you think about who Meghan Patrick was. 6 years ago, just dating some dude, just living large in Nashville, but different mentality, different thought process, and a lot has changed. I've been in so many meetings where we're talking about an artist's career and somebody brings up, well, how many followers do they have on Instagram? I'm like, huh?
We have an entire like industry and hierarchy of artists built off of something that's total bullshit. Like, sorry if I shouldn't say that word. BS. Sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
fucking
but
swearing,
like
bitch.
streams, followers, all of that, like that is bought and paid for. The algorithm is bought and paid for. Like that is the reality. It used to be like, oh, this is like a free market. This is an opportunity where like whether you're signed or not, if you do the work and you put in the time, you can grow a fan base, you can build a career off of just social media. But even what like going viral, it just depends on what's getting pushed into the algorithm. And the reality is now you can pay for views, you can pay for followers, you can pay for streams, you can pay for all these things. So it's not a free market anymore. It's not about who's willing to just do the work and work hard. It's about who has a deeper pocket. And even in that regard, it's like, well, how much debt do you want to go into with your label? Like it's and we're all basing this entire industry and creating a hierarchy of artists off of something that's just bought and paid for. It's not even real. It's not even a true metric for something being of quality or being a hit. I mean, even going viral on TikTok, it usually a lot of the time it has very little to do with the song itself. It has to do with some trend that was created around it, or just something that you could create a dance to, or whatever. Like it's not a music platform, and yet the industry is building entire ideas about who an artist is and their level of success or their potential to be successful off of something that's not a real metric, because there's lots of people that can go viral, but can they sell tickets? Are they actually selling records?
Are there people
Oh,
standing in the room watching them perform live? Are there
right,
people leaving their couch to come see
right.
you?
And it's like if they're not, then you're just an influencer who can kind of sing. Like that's not you're not an artist. That's not real. That's not real artistry, and that's not a career. Like if you can't actually sell tickets and people aren't coming out and spending their money to come stand and watch you play, like it's just I don't know. I
Is
could go
that your
on about it
Juno
forever.
Award acceptance speech for Album of the Year?
No. I have plenty of amazing people that I love to thank. Should I win?
Well, good. And it will be well deserved. This is like the third time, right? For Album of the Year for Meghan
Yep.
Patrick. 3-time Female Artist of the Year at the CCMAs. New Faces show coming up. How much time do you get? Do you get 2 songs at the New Faces show? Or I don't know how it works. I've been to it. I just can't
Um,
recall.
yeah, so we'll probably fit in three. I mean, you could maybe it's a not a number of song. It's how
Like
long
8
your set
minutes.
is. Yeah, it's like you get I think it's like 20 minutes and everybody does like a video intro thing before. So yeah, we're gonna play three.
And do you know what you're doing? Have you been thinking about it? Because that
Yeah,
audience, that room, that's a tough
tough.
room. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
every music executive in there. There are some who are vying for, they want you to win. And then there
Yeah.
are people who are kind of like the away team's fans who are in the
Hmm.
room. And they're like, we don't like the Denver Broncos. We can't cheer for her songs. Like she's not one of us. Like, not to say that
Yeah.
that happens, but there is a little bit of that. Like, those rooms are such a weird space, and that comes from taking those reps of, I think, from when you were a kid, busking,
Yeah.
just out there playing.
Yeah.
Busking at the New Faces show is what Megan
Hmm.
Patrick or any New Faces artist is basically
Yeah.
doing. Try to win over a couple more fans.
Yeah, and I'm good at that because I've been doing it for a long time. I've had to learn how to do that a million times over the last, 15, 20 years that I've been playing in bands and touring. And it is a tough room, but I put the time in at radio over the last couple of years with radio tour and stuff. I've made some really great relationships at country radio in the US, just like I have in Canada. And I have a lot of champions in that room. So I'm
Well,
excited.
I think too, I say it doesn't matter if you're playing your first ever show and there's 3 people in the room. One of those people might champion you that
Yeah.
day. and you
Yep.
never know where it leads to. I've walked into
100%.
all kinds of rooms where I didn't know who was playing on stage. I went, "Whoa, who's this? This is
Yeah.
unique." And
Yeah.
I think when you can win over those people who didn't necessarily come to see you, that maybe were just going to the bar on that Tuesday night
Yep.
in whatever town, Cranbrook, and they saw this new artist. And I don't know, I think that's the goal, and it should be the goal for every artist, no matter what your stage. Win another fan over.
100%. And I love that. I live for that challenge. It's and I've had to do that over the last, 9 years that I've lived in Nashville and been trying to, build a career here. It did not matter to anybody here what I had built in Canada. It did not matter the awards that I'd won, the fans that I had, the numbers, none of that. I was starting fresh, like from square one in the US, and I have gone back to playing for, a handful of people in a bar just like I did when I got started in Canada. And, is it a little humbling? Does it sting a little bit every once in a while? Like, yeah, but it's like, hey, this is what the job is. This is what I do. And, if there's only 10 people out there, well, I'm going to make sure that all 10 of those people, when they walk out of here, they leave a Meghan Patrick fan. And I do. And they end up leaving, they buy a t-shirt, they want a picture, they want to come say hi. And it's like, well, that's 10 new fans who are and then I watch them continue to come to my shows. I mean, over this last 2 weekends of this US leg, there was probably 10 to 15 people that came to almost every show. I mean, they traveled all across the Midwest to come see me play every single show, and they brought new friends or family members every time they came out. And so is it big and flashy and like headline worthy? No, but like that's how you make real fans that are going to show up for you no matter what. That's how you sell real hard ticket sales. And it's hard. It's a grind, but that's how I've always done it. And I do it that way because there's longevity in that. They don't care what the industry thinks about me. They already love me. They love what I do, and they're going to show up for me regardless.
Very similar to what you're saying about finding new fans and new crowds, but they don't care about your history. They care about your today. Like, this program is gigantic in Lebanon, but I cannot convince anyone from North Carolina to really tune in. I'm joking. My Lebanese numbers are through the roof.
Oh my God.
Meghan, I can't wait to see you at the end of the month at the Juno Awards. And everyone should go check you out live on stage. And I challenge anyone to heckle Meghan Patrick while she's on stage, because she will kick the crap out of you. I think first you'll do it like mentally, and then once that really sets in, then you'll do it physically. And then there'll be the whole, well, we'll get back together through song.
Yeah.
At Meghan Patrick Music everywhere. Thanks for doing this, pal. You have yourself a great day, and take care of your husband, or don't.
I will.
Okay. Check in with you real soon.
All right. See you, buddy.
Follow Music Row on X at Music Row Country, on Instagram at Music Row Official. Music Row is produced by Shedda Dreams.